Right now, tens of thousands of tributes are pouring in for Pope Francis. The first Latin American pontiff passed away this morning at the age of 88.
Yeah, here are three things we know right now. The Vatican announced this afternoon that he died of a stroke that put him into a coma and led to heart failure. This comes after he was hospitalized for 38 days earlier this year following a respiratory crisis that developed into double pneumonia. The death of a pope we know sets in motion a series of carefully orchestrated rites and rituals to select the next pontiff.
So let's go back out to our Simone D'Alba at the Basilica in Northeast D.C. to talk us through it. Simone?
Yeah, guys, the honors, the tributes for Pope Francis have really been pouring in throughout the afternoon. We've seen people coming out to the Basilica, even more so now as school started to let out. We saw groups of kids approaching maybe in their classes afterwards, and you could just tell everyone has an opinion and everyone has a feeling of connection to Pope Francis. For so many people, he was a deeply transformative and meaningful leader of the Catholic Church. Also, we've been seeing things like publications that have been all around the world honoring Pope Francis, along with world leaders paying their condolences. I wanted to show you this that came out today. Pope Francis will soon be on the cover of Time magazine. You're looking at the new cover to commemorate the 88-year-old pontiff. The new edition of Time magazine begins hitting newsstands on May 2nd. And former President Joe Biden also memorializing the pontiff, saying in part, quote, he was unlike any who came before him. Pope Francis will be remembered as one of the most consequential leaders of our time, and I am better for having known him. For decades, he served the most vulnerable across Argentina, and his mission of serving the poor never ceased. As Pope, he was a loving pastor and challenging teacher who reached out to different faiths. Former President Barack Obama also sharing his grief. He called Pope Francis a rare leader and, quote, in his humility and his gestures at once simple and profound, embracing the sick, ministering to the homeless, washing the feet of young parishioners, he shook us out of our complacency and reminded us that we are all bound by moral obligations to God and to one another. Now, as we touched on at the 4 o'clock hour, we are entering into a mourning period. This is very significant in the tradition of the church. And this morning we spoke to Reverend Monsignor Walter Rossi. He's with the rector with the Basilica. He talked to us about what this process looks like. Take a listen.
What happens with the Holy Father's passing is the church goes into an official 9 days of mourning. There will be a funeral, which is not scheduled yet. It will be happening between 4 and 6 days. This evening at, I believe, 7:45, the Holy Father's body will lie in repose in the chapel of Santa Marta, where he lived. And then following the funeral, there'll be meetings of the cardinals that all descend in Rome. They'll have 1 or 2 days of meetings, and then the conclave will begin to elect a new pope.
It's all carefully planned out. It's all very ceremonial within the Catholic Church. Now, on the last stop of his visit to D.C. back in 2015, Pope Francis spent time at St. Patrick's Catholic Church and Catholic Charities of the Archdiocese of Washington. And as our John Duran reports, he sent a powerful message on behalf of the poor and on behalf of the vulnerable.
Calling it once in a lifetime wouldn't do it justice.
When the Pope says, I'm going to come to your place, to your home, be part of your ministry, it is monstrous.
An undertaking Monsignor John Ensler and Catholic Charities took on a decade ago.
The Pope's visit for me was probably the highlight of my priesthood.
God bless America.
The Holy Father first visited the Capitol, surrounding himself with some of the world's most powerful.
There was a real message, I think, for us, in that he could have had a very large state luncheon with all Congress, all Senate present. I'm sure the president there as well, just have a huge, huge luncheon. And it would have been after his talk in the morning he spoke on the Capitol. And he said, no, I want to go to the people. I want to go to the people in need. And so he left the Capitol and came right from there to Catholic Charities.
The leader of the Catholic Church arriving at St. Patrick's with his message of equality.
There is no first or second class. There is brotherhood.
He's a very gracious, kind, prayerful, loving man. I mean, just all the things you would want in a pope. He has them all, and a deep concern for taking care of those less fortunate.
That day, helping feed the hungry and meet the common man.
Can we make sure that those who are less fortunate are never forgotten? And so that was his message, I think, by his action, by his words, but also by his just presence. He worked the crowd. He walked around the crowd. He greeted people at tables. The kids, when they saw him, came flocking towards him.
A warm, friendly figure that made everyone feel like they belonged.
There's been a lot of popes. He might be my favorite. Because I met him personally, probably yes. Because I saw who he was face to face, probably yes. Because I sensed that he is not just a persona, he's the real deal. But also because I like a church that's more open, more inclusive, more welcoming, more able to find a way to make sure everybody's included. To me, that's big. And he's done that better than most.
Remembered for his approach to ministry and dedication to service. John Duran, WUSA 9.
All right, John, thank you. St. Patrick's Catholic Church, where the Pope visited that day, by the way, is the oldest Catholic parish in Washington, D.C. It was established back in 1794, and Pope Francis was the first pontiff to visit there. But Leslie Zoe, as I send it back to you guys in the studio, I did want to mention, too, for many, Pope Francis, I talked about him being a deeply meaningful and transformative figure, and that was largely in part because while he didn't change church doctrine, he opened the door for conversations. And now moving forward, we're going to see if the church wants to continue having some of those progressive conversations, or if their new selection of the next pontiff will be more of a conservative choice. We'll send it back to you.
That's right. Could this be reshaping the Catholic Church in some significant way? We'll have to see.
We'll be watching. Simone, thank you.
And make sure you check out our special on WUSA 9 Plus from the archives. We're looking back at the visit of Pope Francis right here to our city back in 2015. You can relive that day through our coverage. Just download the WUSA 9 Plus app on your TV and watch for free.